Hello, my name is James, and I'm the founder and CEO of James Cerebral Palsy Foundation, located in San Diego, California. I am also an independent facilitator for the Self-Determination Program, and my nonprofit is vendored with San Diego Regional Center, which I am also a client of. Today, I wanted to discuss with you what the Self-Determination Program is and the differences between the budget and the spending plan, as I have many clients who say that those two things are confusing, and rightly so because they are. But before we get into that, I'd like to give a little history on what the self-determination program is and the difference between traditional services and self-determination services. Let's get started. Okay, so as we get started, the history between self-determination as well as the differences between self-determination and traditional. So self-determination was put in place to help those with disabilities who qualify for various agencies throughout the United States because self-determination is just not in California. There are self-determination programs that are utilized through other organizations such as the regional center system within California. Very similar organizations also utilize this program in other states. So self-determination, what it does is it allows individuals who are clients of the organizations that provide the service more flexibility on how the funds are used. And what I mean by funds are taxpayer funds. So for an example, under traditional services, at least here in San Diego, and it's going to be similar in other states, under traditional services, San Diego Regional Center, which I'm vendored with, is only allowed to pay for bus pass or paratransit, e.g. access, which is a little mini shuttle bus that picks those with disabilities up. Under self-determination, those services are expanded to include Uber and Lyft or any other ride sharing that qualifies. This is just a small example of what the differences are between the two services. Now I would like to get into what the difference is between the budget and the spending plan, because they are two totally different balls of wax. So let's get going on this budget and spending plan. So this is the spending plan, as you can see to the top left of me. This is actually my spending plan through San Diego Regional Center. So the spending plan has to follow the same rules and regulations as in traditional services. So the services, in order to get the funds, this has to follow very similar to what the traditional services is. With exception, as I said, the services are expanded. So I'm not sure if everybody is able to see clearly on the picture on top, but under my spending plan, I'll just give you a few examples. They pick up bowling for me. They pick up Uber and Lyft. They pick up massage therapy. Massage therapy is not covered under traditional, but it is a health issue for me because of all the surgeries I have had. Bowling is community integration. So community integration takes many different forms. And there are also different service codes that go along with this. If you look on the top left, you'll see the categories of what is allotted and how much. And then towards the far right, just next to that yellow, each bracket has its own notes section. So the notes are how the organization that funds the money, San Diego Regional Center in this case, justifies it to the state of California, or Department of Developmental Services, DDS, on why those taxpayer funds are needed for that particular activity. Over here, and it'll be hard to see, but I'm going to be popping up a picture with the budget and the difference between the budget and the spending plan. The budget, as we get into it, I'll explain, well, is more so in line with traditional services. There are going to be different service codes. For example, under transportation or um, Uber, Lyft, or Bus Pass or whatnot, the service code for self-determination in the regional center system within California is service code 338. Under the traditional, I don't know what that service code is. So I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know what that service code is, but I do know it is completely different service code because they're two different programs. So over here, as I said, under the yellow, you'll see this bottom one here is what the difference has to be. So self-determination is required to have a zero balance when calculating on the spreadsheet. Thankfully, this is not my spreadsheet. It was created by the organization, not San Diego Regional Center, different organization, that I had to take the class through to allow for being able to provide my independent facilitation services to help clients enroll. And that class was roughly around a $2,000 class. And thankfully, I was granted the money for it. But as I said, the dollar amount at the end of the day has to be zero because every single year you renew your self-determination. And that's why you have an individual like myself who's an independent facilitator to assist you with that. So that yellow bracket down there has to be a $0 amount. Now, does that mean that you have to spend it all the way down to the penny? Yes, that's the general idea, is that they want you to spend all the money by the end of the year. That being said, in most cases, if you have like $10 to $15 left by the end of the year, or even 100, no service coordinator, at least in the regional center system, is going to ding you and say, we're going to take away this service at the end of in the next fiscal year because you didn't spend that $10 to $15. Now, say there are $5,000 left in a category at the end of the year. Say it's like Uber and Lyft. Say there are $5,000 left. They're going to say you did not spend the full 5,000 or close enough to it. So we are taking some of that money away. And so ultimately your budget and your spending plan are going to decrease. So this just gives you a general idea of what the spending plan is. Now let's take a look at what the budget is. So this is the budget. So they're two different things. This is also my budget, but I have hidden a lot of my info like I did on the spending plan, and this is a adjusted budget because we had to make some adjustments to mine to get other services covered. The regional center system, especially if you're in the state of California, will alter the budget if there is a new need, an unmet need. We can increase the budget throughout the year as needed for you to be able to do the activities that you need to do. Again, the difference in service codes, you'll see a different service code in these brackets here if you look close enough, and I'm sorry it's small, but unfortunately to fit it on the entire screen it has to be. But there are going to be different service codes in this budget because the budget follows along traditional services, not self-determination services. So there's going to be a difference in the budget, and how the different services are outlined are also going to be different because again, this is the budget which follows along traditional services, not self-determination services. Now, the other thing is the end budget here in the black would be what you would see, and give me a minute to reopen it, would be what you would see uh, here in the second column, the budget area. That's going to be the final budget amount for your spending plan at the end of the day. So I know that again, these things are confusing, but I have had many clients say, I don't understand what the difference is. So there are differences between the spending plan and the budget. Now, going back to the spending plan real quick, say you're using, again, at least this is in this regional center system within the state of California, not just San Diego Regional Center. However, how they go about it throughout the different offices throughout the state may alter a little differently. But say I'm using too much money in Uber and Lyft, but I'm not using enough money in massage therapy. And I'm actually using less money in massage therapy. So what can be done is money throughout the year, if need be, instead of increasing the budget, because they take a look at both, can be moved from one bracket to another category in order to make up the difference in that portion of the spending plan that you have used too much of. So again, there is a lot of flexibility in this. I also want to mention that, again, you can reach out to me if you have any additional questions. But the interesting thing about this is, again, it gives the flexibility. So I gave some examples on the flexibility. I hope this helps you understand a little more about the differences. You will see on the next slide, and I will also include these two images on separate slides so you can see it better. But you will see on the next slide my contact info, and you can reach out to me at any time, Monday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Tuesdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. My office is closed on Saturday and Sundays and all U.S. holidays, major U.S. holidays. But again, as we end, I want you to understand that through self-determination, there are differences, but the flexibility is key. Oh, that's what I was going to say as well. Sorry, when I had that senior moment, is under self-determination, unlike traditional services, at least in the regional center system, you have to be vendored for the client to receive the services. So if you are trying to get a service under traditional and it's not a vendored service, like the company you're trying to get it through is not vendored with the regional center system, depending on which area within California you live in, which regional center office, you will not get that service under traditional because it has to be a vendored service only under traditional. It is different under self-determination. There is typically only one requirement for vendorship, 1 to 2 requirements for vendorship under self-determination. And the requirement for vendorship under self-determination is an FMS company, which is considered a financial management company, which controls the funds on your behalf for the regional center system. If an agency in your state offers self-determination, check with them to see what vendor companies they utilize to provide this financial means to dole out the finances for the services you need. As I said, under traditional, the company has to be vendored for you to receive the service. Under self-determination, the company does not have to be vendored for you to receive the service. Under self-determination, for example, massage therapy, my massage therapist is not vendored with the regional center system. But yet, because she accepts third-party payment and is willing to accept third-party payment, Regional Center is allowed to pay for that service on my behalf through an FMS agency. Again, I really hope this lecture helped you understand more about self-determination. Please check out the next two slides to see the budget and the spending plan, and if you will have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And that will be on the third and final slide. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hope again that this really helped you out.